Child protection and safeguarding basics. Introduction to the module. Child protection in education is important because it ensures the safety, welfare, and well-being of children while they are in school. This includes protection from physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, as well as neglect. A safe learning environment allows children to thrive academically and socially, and provides them with a foundation for future success. Child protection policies and procedures also help to prevent and address any incidents of abuse or neglect that may occur, which is crucial in maintaining trust and confidence in the education system. It is an essential topic for promoting the health and happiness of children and for creating a positive and supportive learning environment. This module will discuss basic things regarding child protection and safeguarding. Learning objective. After completing this module, you will be able to: the difference between safeguarding children and child protection, the definition of common terms used in safeguarding children, guidance relating to safeguarding children, discussion on several safeguarding duties and responsibilities. Difference between child safeguarding and protection. Every organization that works with or interacts with children should have safeguarding policies and procedures to ensure that every kid has the same right to protection from harm, regardless of age, disability, gender reassignment, color, religion or belief, sex, or sexual orientation. However, there is some difference between the terms child protection and safeguarding, which is discussed below. Child safeguarding. In order to keep children and people safe and to advance their well-being, establishments must adhere to safeguarding policies and procedures. This can include hiring new employees, identifying abuse indicators, and ensuring that all employees are knowledgeable about the law and safe work practices. All organizations that work with or interact with children and people who are at risk must show that they are upholding this obligation. There are different levels of accountability, and hence, different levels of safeguarding. Aim of safeguarding. Safeguarding actions include those that the organization or group aims to create and sustain a culture and atmosphere that is receptive to and mindful of protecting children. Defend kids from maltreatment and neglect. Protect the well-being and health of children. Make sure kids can participate in decisions that will impact them. Give kids the tools they need to succeed and actively encourage children's participation and inclusion. Build a child-safe culture and environment by ensuring that representatives have the knowledge, skills, and support to recognize and address complaints, incidents, and concerns. Create, support, and keep up effective reporting and complaint management systems. Create effective risk management systems that identify dangers to children and promote and maintain them. Create, support, and maintain robust reporting procedures that spell out how representatives should alert internal and external authorities to safeguarding and protection concerns. Child protection. The practice of safeguarding includes child protection. Children who are at risk of danger or who have already experienced serious harm are the focus of child protection efforts. Children who have already suffered harm, abuse, neglect, sexual exploitation, or other forms of harm are protected by laws governing child protection. Children's safety both within and outside of the home is guaranteed by Article 19 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. Child protection is a universal right that applies to all children worldwide, in both high and low-income nations. Aim of child protection. The 5 basic guiding principles of child protection are: having no tolerance for the abuse of children, safeguarding the rights and ideals of children, putting the needs of the child first in all situations involving known or suspected child abuse, empowering and informing kids about their rights, personal safety, and what to do in the event of an issue. Protecting kids must be incorporated into every part of our organizational strategy, framework, and work procedures. So in a way, safeguarding practices include kid protection. Children who are at risk of danger or who have already experienced serious harm are the focus of child protection efforts. Children who have already suffered harm, abuse, neglect, sexual exploitation, or other forms of harm are protected by laws governing child protection. Safeguarding is to prevent harm. Child protection is how we respond to harm. Key terms. Understanding key terms helps individuals to comprehend the issue of child protection and the various concepts related to it. Familiarity with the key terms is important for advocating for the rights of children and working towards their protection. The key terms are: abuse. Abuse is defined as a purposeful action or set of activities that cause injury. Abuse of any kind is included here, but not just verbal, physical, sexual, emotional, or psychological abuse. Child. Every person who is younger than 18 years old, unless majority is reached earlier under the child's applicable legislation. Child protection. When a kid is determined to be at danger of damage, abuse, neglect, or exploitation, a series of measures is taken. It ought to be seen as a component of child protection. Child safeguarding. It is the collection of steps done to protect all children while they are in care from danger, abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Exploitation. This is used to describe using someone for one's personal gain, satisfaction, or benefit. Harm. A negative effect on a person's physical, emotional, or behavioral health and well-being is referred to as harm. An individual frequently suffers injury as a result of violence, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Neglect. The act of not responding to a harmful act, series of acts, or events whether on purpose or carelessly represents neglect. Confidentiality. It is the processing of information that has been designated as sensitive and personal. Consent. It is an agreement or permission by a person who is competent to do so. Disability. There are numerous ways to define disability. It may be difficult for certain individuals to get services or benefits because they are labeled disabled for one set of circumstances but not for another. One definition of disability is some element of a person's physical functioning that has the consequence of limiting their inclusion in society, since it is sometimes thought of as being personal to the individual. A definition in this scenario would be a disadvantage or restriction on doing things that is the fault of society and the way it is run. However, it can also be considered as being a part of society. Spatial awareness. This means that the child is aware of the space around them and can easily navigate objects. A child with no spatial awareness will trip over things and climb or trample over things to get to where they want to go. The child may stand too close to people and things or too far away. Safeguarding duties and responsibilities. Everybody who works with children and who comes into contact with them has safeguarding duties they must practice. Safeguarding responsibilities belong to everybody. If you are not working with children but are concerned, you should report your concerns to Child Protective Services, who have a duty to report and follow up. Principals' duties. These principles are introduced by the Department of Health in 2011. They are now embedded in the CARE Act. These principles apply to all health and care settings for safeguarding children and adults. The duties are: empowerment. People are encouraged and supported to make their own decisions and give informed consent. Prevention. It is preferable to act before harm occurs. Proportionality. The least intrusive response to the risk is appropriate. Protection. Support and representation for those in greatest need. Partnership. Local solutions are provided by services that collaborate with their communities. Communities can help prevent, detect, and report child neglect and abuse. Accountability. Accountability and transparency in safeguarding practice. Responsibility. Everybody has a responsibility to report their concerns about the well-being and safety of a child. People who come into contact with children have a responsibility to be vigilant and look out for signs of abuse or neglect, report any concerns according to their organization's safeguarding policies. The general public, people who don't come into direct contact with a child who may be abused or neglected, have a duty of care to report their concerns to the NSPCC or the police if you believe the child is in danger. Safeguarding agencies. All of these services and anybody who works with children must know how to report if they have any safeguarding concerns about a child. There are agencies that must adhere to safeguarding requirements. These include educational services, local authorities, housing authorities, all health authorities, social services, psychologists, all other child protective services. Myths and realities of child abuse. There are many myths and truths about safeguarding children. Some of which we will cover here, others you'll discover further on in this course, and yet more will show up during your career. Myth 1. Women do not harm, neglect or sexually abuse children. The reality: women are more likely to neglect, harm or emotionally abuse their children than sexually abuse them. They are, however, frequently complicit in sexual abuse, with female sexual abusers accounting for approximately 5 to 10% of all cases. Myth 2. It is usually strangers who abuse children. The reality: the majority of abused or neglected children are abused or neglected by people they know and trust. Myth 3. There is usually only one abuser. The reality: there are many cases where children are abused at the hands of multiple people. It doesn't have to be just one person. Myth number 4. Parents and families don't abuse their children. The reality, parents might harm their children emotionally and physically. There are even whole families who abuse each other. Myth number 5: it doesn't happen here in this culture or community or family or town or country. The reality, abuse happens in all classes, ethnic groups, cultures and communities. Myth number 6: children often lie about abuse. The reality, children very rarely lie about abuse. Instead, they fear further harm if they tell or think that nobody will believe or understand them. Myth 7: boys are less traumatized as victims of sexual abuse than girls. The reality, the severity of traumatization among male victims of sexual abuse is equal to that of female victims. Myth 8: children with disabilities are less likely to become victims of abuse than children without disabilities. The reality, children with disabilities are 2 to 3 times more likely than children without disabilities to experience abuse. Myth 9: the most common type of abuse children experience at home is sexual abuse. The reality, child neglect is the most common type of abuse experienced in the home. Safeguarding facts. There are several safeguarding facts that have to be kept in mind. Fact 1: most child abusers are never convicted for their crimes because children have a hard time standing up against their abusers in court and also frequently mix up their timelines and facts. Fact 2: some parents will never know that their child is being abused, and it could be their friend or relative who is doing the abuse. Fact 3: neglect is one of the hardest forms of abuse for a child because the child's development becomes severely impaired. Fact 4: pedophiles can spend years grooming their victims. Fact 5: if you find a child you are concerned about, you will find it hard to file your report. Usually, that's because you are questioning your judgment. Safeguarding laws and guidance. There is an organized system for child protection in the UK. However, each UK nation is responsible for safeguarding and child protection aspects. In all UK nations, the principles are similar. Laws are passed to prevent harm to children and guidelines are created to show agencies and organizations what they need to do to maintain the safety of children. The Children Act. The primary function of the Children Act is to allocate duties and obligations to agencies, authorities, courts and parents concerning the safeguarding and welfare of children. The central theme running through the Children Act is that children are better off with their families. If a family is unable to cooperate with the legislation and compromise the well-being of children, there are provisions included in the Children Act to support that issue. The Children Act 1989. The primary points of the Children Act 1989 are: the welfare of the child is of paramount importance. Delay is very much likely to prejudice the welfare of the child. The court shall not make an order unless doing so would be better for the child than making no order, the no order principle. The Children Act 2004. After the death of Victoria Climie, the Children Act 1989 was revised. The new revisions feature in the Children Act 2004. These revisions do not replace any aspect of the Children Act 1989. Instead, there are additional requirements. It created the post of Children's Commissioner for England. Duty on local authorities to appoint a Director of Children's Services who is accountable for the delivery of services. Duty on local authorities and their partners to cooperate in promoting the well-being of children and making arrangements to safeguard and promote the welfare of children at all times. The Children and Social Work Act 2017. Both of these acts are amended by the Children and Social Work Act 2017. Key provisions include: the Child Safeguarding Practice Review Panel was established to review and report on serious child protection cases that are complex or of national importance, sections 12 to 15. The previous model of local safeguarding children's boards, LSCBs, has been replaced by local safeguarding partners, who will publish reports on local safeguarding practice reviews, section 17. Child death review partners are required to review each death of a child normally resident in their area and identify matters that are relevant to public health and safety and children locally, section 24. Local authorities must appoint personal advisors for care leavers up to the age of 25, section 3. Social Work England is created as a regulatory body for the social work profession in England, section 36. Relationships education will be provided to primary school children, and relationships and sex education will be provided, instead of sex education, in secondary schools, section 34. Highlights from the module. From this module, you have learned: child protection in education is important because it ensures a safe learning environment that allows children to thrive. Every organization that works with or interacts with children should have safeguarding policies and procedures to ensure that every kid has the same right to protection from harm. Everybody who works with children and who comes into contact with them has safeguarding duties they must practice. There are many myths and truths about safeguarding children which needs to be disproved. There is an organized system for child protection in the UK. However, each UK nation is responsible for safeguarding and child protection aspects. Thank you. You have successfully made it to the end of this module. Hope it was a great learning experience for you.